this is week 5 of my weekly reflection. So I'm going to start with the first assignment that we had that I turned in, and then just keep going down the dashboard because I just go down. So the first one was the discussion board, and my examples that I put in for each of the slides were examples that I actively see right now, because they were the only ones I could really think of, and also it's kind of, for me, it felt more appropriate to already do some of the behaviors that I'm already seeing, so that's how I'm going to implement it. And right now in my practicum, I'm learning ways to help with those behaviors that are happening, and so that is, I'm going to implement my strategies and how I'm learning to handle those situations right now. I'm going to implement those into my future classroom. Next one is the study guide, and it's okay. So So the first question, the functions of behavior, was positive reinforcement, negative, and sensory/regulation stimulation. I also like how that rhymes, but so I understand positive, I understand all of it, and I feel comfortable putting that into and incorporating it into my future classroom, especially when I have problem behaviors, or if I am trying to reward a student or my entire class for something that they have all been working on together. I do have one question, and I always have this question every single time, but I know negative reinforcement is getting rid of an adversive condition, but then later in the chapter it talks about how number 3, how can one behavior serve multiple functions? And in the example for that, in that chapter, in that section, it has that the negative reinforcement for that student was, oh my goodness. Okay, the negative reinforcement for that student who had a fight was that he got in trouble, but I thought negative reinforcement was taking away the adversive condition. So I'm kind of confused on that, but the other parts of the negative reinforcement I understand. But yeah. And then, and I feel like I could make an environment in my classroom where I could allow for the positive, negative, and the sensory regulation in implemented into my classroom. I feel confident doing that. I would do it, especially having I know in the vocab I chose the word of the, like, you have a bin, the backup reinforcers. I feel like I would have a nice bin of backup reinforcers to use. And then verifying the analog assessment and addressing the problems in the analog assessment was really interesting, and the way that they explained it in there, I know I would feel comfortable and confident using that in my classroom, even if it's kind of more so informal. Like, I could do it in a way, I feel comfortable doing it, especially since I'm working with behavioral kids right now too, and I can see the process of them identifying the behavior, identifying the settings in each behavior, and so on and so forth. I feel like I'm getting a lot of good experience right now in my practicum in regards to what we're learning in class right now. Yes, so that was the study guide. And then the ABA podcast. Oh my gosh, I loved this assignment. I don't know why. But it was really fun. I mean, I literally just wrote 2 paragraphs, but it was super fun for me. So I really liked hearing the examples that the guest podcaster came on and talked about, especially since she's still actively a preschool teacher. And the fact that she has 17 students in her class, and then she has and then 14 of those students are on the spectrum. I don't know if that's normal, but I've never heard of that or seen of that. And that to me is just insane. That was insane to me. Like, cool and hard. And so it was really interesting hearing her ideas and what she does. Especially, I really like the sticky note idea, especially if I were to have to take data in a gen ed class. I don't have the ability to take as much data as I would like to. I also wouldn't have the opportunity to be able to pay attention to all of the target behaviors or the behaviors that we're trying to prevent, how many times they occur, how many times they try to use their own personal intervention to try and solve the problem. It would be very hard. But listening to this podcast made it a little more clear on how I would implement it. And I also really liked that they talked about how stressful it can be when you have to, I just talked about that. Yeah, when you have to take that many data, and how stressful it can be when the BCBA person comes in and gives you this big, huge binder full of these intricate, really detailed observations. But they chopped it down to really do what you can, take data the way you can and use technology to your sources, or use the technology that you have to make your data collecting easier for you. I really liked that they pointed that out, and I'm also seeing that in my practicum. My mentor teacher puts the data into this Google response sheet, and then as soon as you submit that response sheet, you go into that data will go into a spreadsheet on Google, put everything in it by itself so she doesn't have to do anything, and it'll graph it for her. Just real simple, really nice to know that you're able to do that. There was one thing in here that I think it was the technology thing, actually. Oh, no. I also really like that they pointed out that a lot of what teachers are doing already are part of ABA. And I also like that they pointed out that if you're a good teacher and you're using interventions and you're using all of these evidence-based and differentiating with students, then you're going to be using a lot of ABA without even realizing it, and you just have to implement a few more things, such as data taking and everything like that. I really thought that was cool. I liked that. Last assignment is the behavior change project part 2. So on this one, For the Franklin's hypothesis data, I'm going to do that one first. Oh my goodness. Okay, so I labeled them a specific way, and the way I labeled them, since it was so clear and concise, at least for me, it made sense in my head. It's very easy for me to see myself being able to implement this into my future classroom for a child who exhibits this behavior. Like I said in my last week's video reflection, that I am basing this off of a kid I used to take care of in daycare. And so I can see myself in that same situation and being able to use these things in that situation. So I can see, and I feel comfortable being able to, because let's see. So yeah, I feel like this would be very doable for me. This is very, I could see myself implementing this and then doing it also with other children who were going to need that help. So next is the data sheet, and I was surprised how easily doing the graph was, kind of. I got this, the template type of thing. I don't know what you would call it, but I got this actually. This looks very similar to my data sheets that I record data on right now. So I can definitely implement it into my future classroom doing this. I do, however, think that there is an easier, better, faster way that I can do it, because this is really long. It requires a lot of multitasking, because I'm going to be paying attention to the child, I'm going to be helping other children, and I'm going to have to pay attention to every criteria that's on here. But I do have confidence that I can do it. Checklist, I really like the checklist. I can see myself using the checklist, but not on its own. And I'm not sure 100% if it was designed to be on its own or not. But when I was doing the checklist, I feel like depending on how you use it, for me it feels like you would use it just if you're like in a gen ed classroom and you're really busy. And so I would say yes, 15 minutes, yes. It doesn't give a lot of information, and I would think that you would need more information to develop a plan for a child for their intervention. I did like seeing the graph though. I liked how visually that was. So yeah, that was the week. I feel confident in everything that I was taught. I feel like I can implement a lot. So goodbye. Have a good week.